Hello Divination and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to reveal your image gallery with a sliding puzzle scroll effect in Divi. This is the final result we're aiming to achieve. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. All right, so the first thing we need to do is to create a brand new page. But of course, this technique can be done on an existing page. So I'm going to come over here and click on Add New. We're going to give this page a name and I'm just going to call this Images and click Use Divi Builder. So for this example, we're going to build everything from scratch. So I'm going to click here on Start Building and we're going to start off with a single column here and we're going to add a text module. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Now in here, we're just going to add some text which says Image Gallery, but we also want to make this a heading. So I'm going to highlight it all and then click here on this drop down and set this to heading 1. All right, so now that I have heading 1, I can now come over here to Design, Heading Text, and making sure you have the H1 tag selected. We want to change this to a different font and the font is called Roboto. And this is a free font, so go ahead and use it. It's a Google font. So there we go, we have Roboto. Now here on the font weight, we need to set this to bold and we also need to make it all caps. Next, we want to center this. So I'm going to go ahead and center it. And then we also need to set our sizes. So here I'm going to go with 50 pixels. Now it's a good idea at this stage to set your sizes for the other devices because you want this to look brilliant on all screen sizes. So let's go ahead and click here on this little icon and then go to tablet. So on the tablet size, as I'm looking here on the side, I can see that it's slightly too big. So let's reduce the size a little bit to about 40 pixels. And this should be the same for the phone as well. So back over here now to the desktop. The next step now is to add some letter spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down here a little bit and add my letter spacing. There we go. So we're going to go with 4. So pretty much that's all I need to do here. I'm going to save. The next step is to add a blurb. So I'm going to come over here and click on this plus button, search for my blurb module and select it. Next, I'm going to choose an icon. So I'm going to come over here to image and icon. Activate the icon and click here on this arrow pointing down. Next, I'm going to come over here to my text and just get rid of all this text here. We don't need this. All we need here is just the arrow. Now it's time to go and stylize this arrow. So I'm going to click here on Design, Image and Icon. So the first thing I need to do is to change my icon color. So I'm going to go in and add my icon color like that. Next, we would like to animate this. So let's go all the way down here to Animation. And the animation style we need is slide. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Now the direction here needs to be down as the direction. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then the animation intensity is going to be at 20%. All right. So what we also need to do here is to loop this animation. So let's go ahead and just make sure that this is set to loop. So I'm going to go ahead and select that because by default it's set to animate once. All right, so now that I have this all set, I'm going to go ahead now and save. And then it's time now to go into our section settings. So here I need to add some breathing space on the top and the bottom. So let's go ahead and add our padding. So I'm going to click here on Design, Spacing, and my top padding here is going to be 20 VH. And then on the bottom, we're going to set this to 50 VH. So now we have quite a lot of space for us to add our image gallery. All right, so now that I have this all set, it's time now to go in and add another row. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to come over here and click on this plus button and add my section. So for the rows, I'm going to go with 4 equal columns. Now, before I add my modules, I want to go in and make some adjustments to my row settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click here on this gear icon. And then I'm going to come over here to Design, Sizing. So the first thing we need to do here is to set our gutter width. Now the gutter width is the space between the columns. So we're going to go ahead and just set this all to 1. And by doing this now, it means that there is no space between our columns. Next, I'm going to adjust my width here. Now by default, it's set to 80%. And ideally, we want this at 100%. For our maximum width here, by default, we have it at 1080. I'm going to set it at 1200 for my maximum width. And while I'm here, I'm going to set my sizes for my different screen sizes. So let's go to the tablet view. So I'm going to come over here on tablet and I'm going to set my size to 600 pixels. And on the phone, I would like this to be 300 pixels. All right, great. So now that I have all my sizes all set, the next step now is to start adding my images. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to click here on this plus button and add my image. So there we go. I've just added my image module. Now I'm going to start adding all my images. Now notice this is very, very important. The images I'm going to add here are all the same size, and they're all 500 pixels by 500. So if I click here, you can see the dimensions here. So in your case, if you're going to follow along, make sure your images are 500 by 500. All right, so now that I have this, I'm going to add it by clicking upload, and you can see here my image now has been added. Now let's add a few effects to our images. So I'm going to come over here to advanced and go to scroll effects. So I'm going to start here with my vertical motion, activate vertical motion, and I'm just going to make a few adjustments here. So my starting offset is going to be -3, and my mid offset is also going to be -3, and then my ending here is going to be 0. Next, I'm going to split here and set it to 28 and 15. So I'm going to bring this all the way down here to 15%. Great. And then over here, I'm going to set this to 28. And then finally, here, the viewport top needs to be at 40%. There we go. All right, so that's looking great now. The next step now is to add vertical motion. So I'm going to come over here to the vertical motion tab, activate it. So I'm going to set my starting offset. So I'm going to come over here, and this is going to be 3, 0, and this also needs to be 0. Now over here in the middle, I'm going to bring this all the way down to 15%. And our viewport top needs to be at 40%. So I'm going to bring this all the way down to 40. So pretty much that's all I need to do here. I'm going to save this. And then it's time to add another image. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and search for my image module. Select it and add my image. This time, I'm not going to add any effects to this image. So I'm going to save this and move straight to image 3. And again, I'm going to search for my image module. Select it, and then choose an image. And as I mentioned before, notice that the sizes for these images are the same. All right, so now I'm going to click upload an image, and then I also need to add my scroll effect. So I'm going to come over here to advanced scroll effects, and I'm going to start here with my horizontal motion. So I'm going to select it and activate it. Next, I'm going to move this mid part here to about 15%. And then all I have to do now, my starting offset is going to be -3, 0, and 0. So that's all I need to do for this one here. So I'm going to save. Next, I'm going to add image 4. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, search for my image module and select it. And then I'm going to choose my image, and I'm going to go with this one here. Click upload. So now it's time to add my scroll effects by coming over here to advanced scroll effects. And I'm going to start with my vertical motion. So making sure this is selected, I'm going to activate it here. So my starting offset here is going to be 3, and my midpoint is going to be 0 and 0. Okay. Next, I'm going to split the mid part here and bring it all the way down to about 15%. And I also need to bring this down here to about 28%. And then finally, the viewport top needs to come all the way down here to 40. There we go. All right, so that's looking great. The next part now is to come over here to horizontal motion. And again, you need to activate this. Now with that activated, I just need to add my values. So my starting offset is going to be 3, and my mid offset is also going to be 3, and my ending offset is going to be 0. And then over here, we're going to bring this down to about 28%, and my viewport top is going to be 40%. There we go. All right, so pretty much that's all I need to do. I'm going to go ahead now and save. So you can see as I'm scrolling here, the motion is happening as I am scrolling through. So the next step now is to duplicate this row. So I'm going to come over here and duplicate it. And we also need to do this one more time. So now we have a total of 3 rows. So now what we need to do is to go in and rearrange these images to whatever, fits how you'd like it. So ideally, you just want to make sure you go in and just change these images, because right now they pretty much look the same. So let's go in and do that quickly. So this one here, we're going to change it to this. And remember, all we're doing here is changing the images. So for this one here, we're going to change it to that. So I'm going to keep on changing these images. And this one here becomes this one. And then this final one is going to be, let's see, let's go with that. And as I mentioned before, all these images are the same sizes. So I'm going to save that and then come to the last row. And again, I'm going to start with this one here. Save that. Then perhaps go into this one here and just swap them over. In fact, this one here has been used on the top, so that doesn't work. There we go. Save that. And then finally, I'm going to come to this one here and I'm going to change this to, let's go with this one here. Okay, so pretty much I've gone in and I've just rearranged the images just to make them look all different. So the next step I need to do now is to come into my section settings. So the next step is to come over here to my section settings, click on advanced, and I need to go into visibility. So here is where I need to go into horizontal overflow and set this to hidden, and vertical overflow needs to be set to hidden as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and then save. Now, when you take a look at this, you notice that we have this gap right here. So we can go in and remove the padding of these rows. So I'm going to come over here, click on design, spacing, and I'm going to remove my padding here on the top and the bottom. I'm going to save that and I'm just going to copy my row settings now. So I'm going to go to copy row styles and then just paste them over here like that. So now you can see that the rows now don't leave any gaps. So again, here I'm going to paste the row styles. So all the padding has been removed and all these images now are next to each other. So all we have to do now is to save this and publish it. Now let's take a look at the final design. So we're going to exit the Visual Builder. And there we go. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.